Right, so the limited voter registration, we've secured generators due to DUMSO. So, this is interesting. So, the headline alone suggests that the EC is also saying that in reality, DUMSO hasn't gone anywhere. All right, let me read the story for you. The Ghana's Electoral Commission has stated that generators have been secured to guarantee a smooth, limited voter registration exercise scheduled for Tuesday, May 7th, 2024, according to the nation's across the nation due to power crisis. Now, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Jean Mensah, during press briefing on Monday, May 6th, 2024. According to her, the EC is making every effort to prevent any disruptions due to power challenges, commonly referred to as DUMSO. She further explained that the Commission has arranged for all district offices to rent generators in case of power outages. These generators will kick in to ensure continuous voter registration services. However, in the event of unforeseen circumstances, the EC has explained that its offices will switch to an offline mode where voters will be registered manually and their details will be stored on a pen drive. We are trying hard to. We've made arrangements to ensure that we do not have challenges because of DUMSO. What we've done is to have all our district officers rent generators so that in the event where there is DUMSO, that can kick in. However, should there be the unexpected, and the quote continues, we would switch to the offline, and by offline it means that the voters will be registered and their details will be put on a pen drive, and that will be copied in our offices when the light returns. So the registration will not be disrupted. The upcoming limited voter registration exercise aims to register approximately 623,000 first-time voters across the country. The registration will take place in all 258 district offices of the Commission, as well as an additional 785 centers to accommodate those who may find it difficult to access their district offices. Moreover, 25 public universities have also been included as registration venues. Paul, your thoughts?
Thank you, Kuku, and once again, good morning to our viewers. And Kwame Bibini is celebrating his birthday this morning. Kuku, to a large extent, I'm a little bit happy about some of the changes they have made this time with the registration. You recall last year, September, when the EC went ahead to do limited registration prior to the district assembly elections. It targeted some 1.3 million new voters. At the end of the exercise, the EC had somewhere around, 600,000 people registering. Now, Article 42 of our Constitution, to paraphrase, if I am 18 years and above of sound mind, I can register and then have a voter's ID, eventually vote when elections, come into place. The exercise being done by the EC takes its powers from Articles 45, where the EC at regular intervals by way of the constitutional instrument is able to compile new register as and when it deems fit. But let's also take that into proper perspective. Almost every now and then, EC comes up with new details about registering Ghanaians who are 18 years and above. Yeah. And rightly so, they should. But my point is, for how long are we going to be having to register people especially in an election year. We had one done last year, September, all the way running to October. Couldn't we have done this continuously from that time till, say, middle of this year, where you have a continuous registration exercise ongoing at its district offices, rather than, most often than not, the time interval it comes up with, for more or less political parties to be busing people left, right, center, to some of these places. Now, we had arguments, with the EC last year when it intended to go ahead with the registration. Our issue as CSOs was that, listen, you were registering people at only 263 district assemblies, district offices of yours, right? We requested that, listen, take a second look at that decision.
Yeah.
How about you expand it a little? That's why I began by saying I'm a little bit excited that this time round they've listened and then they've added a bit more centers to the registration center. Limiting it to that, to district offices, comes even at a cost to more or less a new registrant. Where I am coming from, assuming I'm coming from Kede. Kede is the district capital, all right? Somebody living somewhere at Techiman, Epinaman, Pramkese, will have to travel long distances just to come and have his name captured in the voters register.
Even though they're in the same district.
Exactly. And we're saying that, look, you have so many electoral areas. Why don't you add a bit more of the electoral areas just so you can reduce the distances people have to travel just so their names can be captured? The cost involved, the risk of traveling here and there, dissuaded somehow people from registering. And that's how come we're only able to register within the region of 600,000 instead of the 1.2, 1.3 that it targeted. All right. So this time I'm happy that it has listened, and then it is making efforts at expanding registration centers to accommodate a lot more people this time. And then the issue of Dumso. Even EC is acknowledging that there's Dumso. But our own government is refusing to accept that there's even Dumso. I'm happy they are making provisions, in such a way that should the unexpected happen, we will have something to rely on in terms of standby generators and what have you. I think it's...
But it will by all means happen.
Please, I am not the ECG boss. And as far as we know, there is no Dumso in Ghana.
In the last 2 days, haven't you had power outages at home?
Kweku.
Yes.
During the May Day celebrations, the president announced that Dumso is over. Meanwhile, our own government told us in plain words that we do not have Dumso. Matter of fact, the energy minister said that it is Dumsiesi, and that if you are having challenges, it is just a localized fault. I believe you all remember that.
I do.
So, coming back to the EC, I believe that having the generator or gensets at some of these offices is a good call, and I hope that they are able to live up to it. However, my contention with the registration is this. Almost all the time, since time immemorial, we have had political parties busing people to registration centers. And I believe we all know this, all right? You have political parties busing minors. When I say minors, sometimes people or kids below 12, 13, 15 are bused to registration centers to go through the registration process. And sometimes because the two major political parties are doing it, it becomes difficult for the lesser parties to even complain or make a claim that, hey, this boy is a minor, this girl is a minor. Why are you forcing him or her to be on the voters register? But they are all mute. because they all do it. But as a nation, we need to take a second look at registration. Listen, what are the best practices elsewhere? There are other countries that also go through same phases as we are, right? What do they do different from what we are doing? Perhaps if we can have that, dialogue, that engagement, that stakeholders, forum, where we discuss ways by which we can register rather than the norm, perhaps we will be able to do away with having minors on our voters register where all the time they will need to be weaved out and curled out from the list almost all the time. As at the last registration, they had to take so many, names out of the voters list because they were minors. All right? Then coming back to how people are able to register, proximity. By the CI, we are told that before you come in CI 91, as amended, right? Before you come in as a new new voter, I should say, it will mean that if you do not have any identifiable card, you have to come in with a guarantor, right? Imagine somebody traveling from an out of district capital to the district capital, right? You have to pay for yourself, pay for the guarantor.
Yeah.
In order that you go through the registration process.
Yes.
You see, these are all costs that an individual have to bear in order that the person will go through the registration. That, for me, is a challenge that I believe that little expansion the EC has made will go a long way to resolving some of these challenges, right? And so I am happy that that level of provision has been made by the EC, and also with the hope that our political actors, i.e. the political parties, will learn this time and not bus people to registration centers having minors, registered on a voters register. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Okansi.
Yeah, and I would also still remind you on the ban on drumming and noise making. And the next is that what
has that got to do with the discussion?
We the Ghana people started the hunger.
Of course we are
No, we the Ghana people started the hunger project. Homoa is like a hoot against hunger. So we've planted maize. When the maize is ready, I'll share the corn with you. So we'll have Pipuli. You say Pipuli, but the real name is Pupui. So it's important to take this registration process very serious because it sounds like from Madam, in fact I'll call her Auntie Adukwe because she's from Nungwa. Anya Adukwe, Obomode Ochunye. But once you listen to her, you see it sounds like there's good preparations in place. And then I pray that all these have been discussed with the IPAC, and then all the political parties are well informed. And I also look at the mass education. With such an exercise, I was expecting, in the past, some of these songs that came with the registration exercises, it made it fun. And then you hear here and there, and that's the advert to make people, know that this exercise is ongoing. Masa, sometimes you perceive that people know. But you'll be surprised when you go on the streets right now. Some people don't even know this exercise is ongoing. People are just moving from home at around 4:30. They get to business centers where, the radios are not there. And it's like, face your job and finish it. So some of these informations are not out there. So I pray the NCC, the information services, and then let's take the large platforms that we pay next to nothing, like the churches. Let's get our officials to visit the churches. Get some youth volunteers. Let them go to the churches and then the mosques, the markets. The market centers now, they have their PA systems. So you blow it once for the, but also the visitors who are shopping, they also get to hear. Now, what's the way forward? I think we should improve on our data collection. Like you are agreeing with me some time ago that, look, if we had a very good national identification system, automatically when the person gets to age 18, there should be a quick information that goes by a text message that you send your phone numbers or anything. And then it will just prompt you. You are qualified for a passport. You are qualified for a driver's license. Yeah, I mean, so all these things will pop up.
Yeah.
You are qualified to register for voting. All these will help us. Also, that inter-institutional collaboration. You see this institution collecting data, another institution. Look, our data, too much data out there. When you speak with the data experts, they tell you how dangerous it is the way we are handling our data.
Yeah.
Especially when the next day 2 machines are missing. We are actually auctioning some of the machines. All these are data. In another part of the world, is a very dangerous thing to do. But you know, the exercise should be, I think it should be all year round at the district offices. You know, if they can, that's a proposal, so that we don't need to wait till the last minute and then we have to camp down and come and do all these things. And then periodically they might do it maybe at the electoral areas that my brother mentioned. There should be proper monitoring to avoid, you know, minors from registering, like he mentioned. And also not just minors, some people who are not Ghanaians might also take advantage and, you know, register. You know, after living here sometimes they like to be complacent and they also want to associate. Don't blame them. Some people just want to, you know, they don't even know it's illegal though. They want to belong. Now, whether there are doubts or, you know, you doubt the age of a person, it's tricky. The ages, excuse me to say my language, cannot be written on the face. Somebody can be just 10 years but look matured. Somebody might have a baby face, as we usually put it. He might be 19 or 20. But and funny enough, I met some young man at one of your offices down there, and he looked very young to me. I was speaking with a young man. He said he was about 22 or 23. I'll give him 17 at best.
Wow.
You know, so the facial deception could be there. So let's look at it. I think if we do this, you have a doubt, let's adopt the legal processes and then protest the age of somebody on a very clean face. Maybe all these people can be wiped out if they try to beat the system. But if we do this wonderfully, I mean, this is a boost of our democracy. Let's show to the world what really we want to do. That we just want to show to the world that, look, we have something to protect. And, you know, it sounds very safe if we put democracy right, because if these people are of sound mind and they are qualified, these are the persons going to choose for us the managers of our country. So it's a very important these are the deciders of who leads the country, who manages the country. So let's make sure they themselves are qualified and are of sound mind, as the Constitution and our early bearers of the Constitution really thought about it, that these persons should be 18 years and they should actually be persons in sound mind. And so if we do this better, I think we'll have a clean system.
I've been just thinking about, you made mention of this continuous registration thing, and I've just been thinking about how we can automate the system so that whenever I mean, you turn 18, right? Nobody's monitoring your birthday, but everybody turns 18. You are automatically eligible, right? But how do we then streamline that so that, number one, you can pick up a Ghana card. Number two, you know, you can then be eligible to go get your biometrics done and pick up, no, not done, but biometrics confirmed and then given a voter's ID, you know. Or do we just say, listen, once you have your Ghana card, it becomes your voter's ID card? Because a lot of the streamlining that's being done at the moment, your Ghana card covers a lot of things. So, for example, your Ghana card is your SNIT card. Your Ghana card is now your NHIS card, right? And so on. So then, can we not also transition to that point where we say your Ghana card is also now your voter's ID card?
It's possible.
And still the news review segment right here on Breakfast Daily. And Paul was making a submission before we went on for break. Paul, you want to continue?
Thank you. So as earlier indicated, I would have loved that the EC, together with the various stakeholders, you know, have a dialogue on continuous registration, rather than the limited exercises we've been having and the challenges that come with it. All right. So if an individual turns 18, I can just majestically walk into any office of the EC and say, hey, I am 18, I would like to register. Okay, show proof of identification. What shows that you are 18? From, like I mentioned earlier, from 2000, you know, upwards, at least there's some level of identification in place. Either you have your birth cert or something to show that, you know, you were born so and so date, and that this is what you have to show for. And if I am able to show proof of my date of birth,
Yeah.
I should be able to go through the system smoothly and successfully to have my name registered on the voters register. And that, I believe, should be something that should be continuous, so that if it is 5 months to an election, then we can say that we are ending continuous registration from this time, just so it allows the EC enough time to go through the register and call out who needs to be called out, and then also exhibit the register for voters to go through and see if their details have been captured correctly, and then they can go ahead and know which polling station they will be voting and all of that. So I think that that discussion has to be had, all right, no matter how tough it is, just so it doesn't become that cycle of having limited registration exercises with the challenges, you know, bedeviling such an exercise.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, fantastic.